Monday morning, September 15, 2008. The news of Lehman Brothers' bankruptcy shocked the entire world. A 165-year-old investment bank collapsed overnight. That same year, the shockwaves reached America as well. The S&P 500 ETF plummeted from $150 per share to just $68 per share. Not just cut in half. It had fallen to less than half its value. At that moment, CEO Mr. Henry collapsed in his home office. Of his life savings of $8 million was tied up in the stock market. The money he had planned to leave to his children after retirement had become just $3 million overnight. God. What is happening? CEO Mr. Henry's hands trembled as he held his brokerage account statement. His wife, Mrs. Emma, gently patted her husband's shoulder. "Honey, we're still alive." "Yes, we're alive, but what can I leave for the children?" That's when Mrs. Emma opened her old Bible. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Everything visible has collapsed right now, but what's invisible remains solid. CEO Mr. Henry shook his head. We can't live on faith alone. Just then, their eldest son John opened the door and walked in. 26-year-old John was about to start at a major corporation. The moment he saw his father's dejected expression, he understood everything. "Dad, did the stocks fall badly?" CEO Mr. Henry nodded. "John, I'm sorry, I have no inheritance left to give you." But John showed an unexpected reaction.
Sorry.
"Dad, I've already received plenty of inheritance." "What?" "The greatest inheritance you gave me wasn't money, but faith." John recalled memories of praying at dawn with his father since childhood. The Bible verses they read together every Saturday. His father's warm hands when helping neighbors in need. "Dad, you gave me something more valuable than money." Time passed, and it was 2020. COVID-19 swept across the entire world. Many companies went bankrupt, and unemployment rates soared. But something strange happened. John's company also began restructuring, but John wasn't laid off. Instead, he was promoted to team leader. His colleagues asked, "John, how can you stay so calm in this situation?" "My father taught me something. If you trust in God, you won't be shaken in any situation." John quoted Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists, and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. John's reputation at the company grew day by day. He was honest and sincere. He helped colleagues in difficulty. He had a steadfastness that remained unshaken even in crisis situations. This was exactly the inheritance of faith he had received from his father. Meanwhile, Mr. Henry's second daughter, Grace, was also walking her own path. Grace, who had become a doctor, was caring for patients on the front lines of COVID. It was a dangerous situation, but Grace wasn't afraid. She remembered what her mother always used to say. When God is with us, there's nothing to fear. Grace kept Hebrews chapter 11, verse 27 in her heart. By faith he left Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He persevered because he saw him who is invisible. Like Moses, she moved forward trusting in the invisible God. Patients felt something special from Dr. Grace. It wasn't just medical treatment, but a feeling of being cared for with genuine love. "Doctor, you're different from other doctors somehow." "I'm just sharing the love I've received." In Grace's heart flowed the love of God that her father and mother had shown her. This was exactly the inheritance of faith. Fall 2023. The Mr. Henry family gathered together again. This time it was because of sad news. Mr. Henry had been diagnosed with cancer. The doctor said 6 months. John, Grace, and even the youngest, David, all gathered. Mr. Henry looked at his children and said, "I can't leave you much money, but I want to leave you something else." "Dad, what do you mean?" Mr. Henry took out his old Bible. It was the Bible that his father and grandfather had read. "I want to pass this faith on to you." At that moment, a strange emotion filled the room. John spoke. "Dad, I've already received plenty." Grace nodded too. "I'm already living by that faith." The youngest, David, was still a college student. "John, Grace, can I have that kind of faith too?" Henry took David's hand. "Of course. Faith isn't passed down like genes automatically, it's a choice." David asked him to read Hebrews chapter 11, verses 39 and 40. Henry read with a trembling voice. "These were all commended for their faith, yet none of them received what had been promised, since God had planned something better for us, so that only together with us would they be made perfect." "Dad, what does that mean?" "It means that the faith we've received doesn't end with our generation, but must continue to the next generation." Henry looked at each of his children's faces one by one. "Pass this faith you've received on to your children as well." 6 months later, Henry quietly went to be with God. On the day of the funeral, something amazing happened. Countless people came. John's company colleagues, patients Grace had cared for, and their families, and even neighbors the Mr. Henry couple had helped. An elderly lady took Mrs. Emma's hand and said, "Mrs. Emma, your husband really left us so much." "What do you mean?" "Faith. Looking at your husband, I came to believe that God exists." At that moment, Mrs. Emma realized what her husband's true inheritance was. Not money, but faith. And how much that faith had changed so many people's lives. After the funeral, the family gathered again. It was to settle the inheritance. The lawyer began reading the will. "This is Mr. Henry's final testament. To my beloved children. I don't leave you much. But I definitely leave you one most precious thing. That is faith in God. This faith won't crumble no matter what economic crisis comes. It won't shake no matter what disease comes. It won't let you despair no matter what failure comes. This is the real inheritance you've received." The last part of the will read, "Remember Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. All the good things you hope for will surely come to pass because God is alive and is with you." That night, the 3 siblings gathered in their father's study. John said, "It's really amazing. I feel like I received something far more valuable than the money Dad lost in stocks." Grace nodded too. "That's right. Having this faith means I'm not afraid in any situation." David asked, "John, Grace, how should we live from now on?" John answered, "We can live like Dad. Trust in God, love our neighbors, and pass this faith on to the next generation." Several years passed. John married and had a son. He named him Nathan, meaning, God has given. Every Saturday, he read the Bible with his son, just as his grandfather had done with his father. Grace expanded her medical volunteer work to include Africa. She planted hope as well as healing in the children she met there. David decided to become a pastor. He entered seminary to study God's Word more deeply. One day David said to his brother and sister, "The faith our family received seems really amazing." "Why?" S&P 500 ETF goes up and down, but this
The
faith
faith
keeps
we've
increasing in
received
value.
is truly
He was
amazing.
right. The inheritance of faith they had received was bearing greater fruit as time went on. John became an executive at his company and positively influenced many employees' lives. He changed the company culture through honest management. Grace created an international medical volunteer organization and saved countless lives. Countless people experienced God's love through her touch. David, as a young pastor, was passing on living faith to the next generation. Young people whose lives were changed by his sermons continued to multiply. All of this started from one person's faith. Although CEO Mr. Henry failed economically, he achieved great success in faith. And that success was immeasurable by money. Saving lives, giving hope, sharing love. This was exactly the miracle that the inheritance of faith created. Hebrews chapter 11 features numerous heroes of faith. Abel, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Rahab, Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel. What did they have in common? They weren't wealthy, nor did they have power. But they had one thing: unshakable faith in God. And the responsibility to pass that faith on to the next generation. Henry's family's story was the same. They failed economically, but achieved the greatest success in faith. And that success continues through generations. Even today, somewhere in the world, Nathan, whom John raised, is praying with friends. An African child Grace treated is studying to become a doctor himself. A young person changed by David's sermon is sharing the gospel with another young person. These are the amazing works that the inheritance of faith creates. S&P 500 ETF fluctuates up and down according to economic conditions. But faith stocks are different. Once you invest, they yield returns forever. And those returns continue to compound. More importantly, the principle of this investment is never lost. Hebrews chapter 11, verses 13 through 16 says, "All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised, they only saw them, and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth." People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. People of faith lived like strangers on this earth. But their eyes were always looking toward their heavenly home. And God prepared an eternal city for such people. Henry was the same. Though he experienced economic difficulties on this earth, eternal rewards awaited him in heaven. And the inheritance of faith he passed on to his children continued to expand God's kingdom. Beloved saints, what thoughts came to you as you heard this story today? Are you perhaps lying awake at night because of economic worries like Mr. Henry? Are you afraid that you won't be able to leave much materially for your children? But through today's message, we can clearly know this. The most precious inheritance in the world is not money, but faith. Look again at Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, an assurance about what we do not see. Faith is invisible but real. Faith cannot be touched but definitely exists. And that faith is stronger than any economic crisis, stronger than any disease, stronger than any failure. Beloved saints, do you know what the greatest inheritance you can leave your children is? It's not designer bags, not Manhattan condos, not S&P 500 ETF. It's living faith in God. Finding peace that remains unshaken in any situation within that faith. Living a life of loving and serving neighbors through that faith. Experiencing and testifying to God's goodness through that faith. Just like Henry's children, John was recognized as an honest worker at his workplace. Grace took on the precious ministry of saving lives as a medical professional. David is sharing the gospel with the next generation as a pastor. All of this is because of the inheritance of faith they received from their parents. So what should we do? First, we ourselves must first have unshakable faith. Faith that relies on God alone, whether economic difficulties come, health problems arise, or relational conflicts occur. Second, we must show that faith through our lives. It's not enough to just say we believe with words. We must show in all areas of life that we acknowledge God and live according to His will. Third, we must intentionally pass on faith. We can't think it will be passed down naturally. Likester. Henry. We must have times to read the Bible together with our children, pray together, and worship together. Fourth, we must grow together within the community of faith. There are limitations when alone. We must encourage and help each other within the church community and grow in faith together. Dear family of faith, isn't that really true? When we go to heaven, what will be God's standard when He says, "Well done, good and faithful servant"? It won't be how much wealth we accumulated. It won't be how high a position we achieved. It will be how faithfully we kept our faith, and how well we passed that faith on to the next generation. As Hebrews chapter 11, verses 39 and 40 say, the faith we've received doesn't end with our generation. It must continue to the next generation, and the generation after that. Only then will God's salvation history be completed. Just as Henry failed economically but achieved great success in faith, we too may be lacking by worldly standards, but we can live abundant lives by God's standards. I earnestly hope that you will become people who live such lives. I hope that your children will be able to confess like this in the future. The most precious inheritance our parents left us was faith in God. This is an inheritance that is more certain than S&P 500 ETF, more solid than Manhattan condos, and has eternal value beyond any worldly possessions. I hope today's message will be deeply engraved in your hearts. And I pray that you will become blessed families who pass on and receive this inheritance of faith. If this video was helpful, please share your grace through likes and comments. And please subscribe and set notifications to receive more gracious messages. I pray that God's abundant blessings will be with your families.